Hey guys, it's Spooked and welcome back to my Steven Universe Reviewed series. This episode was Steven vs Amethyst, and this episode was a continuation from the last episode. In this episode we get to see Amethyst's anger towards losing against Jasper and how she feels like she's the worst crystal gem due to Steven gaining all these new powers and being stronger than her in all the tasks that Pearl sets out for them. Pearl and Garnet return from the north, stating that they cannot find Jasper. Steven runs up to them, stating that they have found Jasper and had won against her. Pearl is very impressed by Steven and notices that Amethyst has reformed into a new design. Amethyst is very down due to the fact she was defeated in the last episode and had to reform. She feels that Steven is no longer the rookie and that he is better than her. This puts emphasis on the fact of Jasper calling her a runt and how she feels left out and weak compared to the other gems. Steven suggests that Amethyst should come watch him do training with Pearl. Amethyst agrees and requests to join him with the training. They do a lot of tests against each other and eventually Steven wins all 3 rounds. Pearl believes it's Amethyst going easy on Steven, but Amethyst knows that she's not being as good and is a weaker gem compared to Steven. They head back to the temple and Steven and Amethyst fight each other on the game console. Amethyst beats Steven but knows that Steven is going easy on her and explains to Steven how pissed off she is that she can't win against Jasper and is the weaker gem in the group of the crystal gems and is the worst gem out of them all. Steven states that Amethyst is better and they get into a fight and go back to the ruins to see who is the worst gem. After a long battle against both Amethyst and Steven, they give up at the end of the fight after being knocked forth against each other. Pearl arrives and is shocked at the fact the ruins have been destroyed even further, and the episode ends off there with Amethyst and Steven accepting that they are at equal pace. This episode wasn't as heated as the last 2, and I'm glad Amethyst got some self-esteem back at the end of the episode, though I particularly liked in the fight the terminology used. In the one scene where Amethyst is fighting Steven and Steven gets thrown into the wall with his bubble on, Spike stopped the impact from happening. Steven states that mistakes aren't awesome, and this reflects back on Amethyst as how she feels she's a mistake, as she's a runt and she's not what she's supposed to be. This is the first time Amethyst and Steven have had tension between each other. This has happened before between Steven and Pearl due to Pearl blaming Steven of knowing all these secrets about Rose that she didn't know, as she felt she was more in power compared to the other gems and trusted. I'm glad we're getting to see more of Amethyst in training, as most of this season has consisted on the other gems characters such as Lapis and upcoming Bismuth. Amethyst really needs that extra love in the season to be a better gem and fight Jasper, not caring that the fact she's a runt and is not as great as Jasper. Amethyst has always been so down about herself when she can't complete a goal or a task, and many people have speculated that Amethyst will go and join the Homeworld gems. Though after this episode, and the fact that Amethyst has got some of her security back due to her talk with Steven, and at the end of the episode they make up as friends. Honestly, I wouldn't have seen Amethyst betraying the crystal gems in the first place due to her deep bond with all the other gems, and how much of a dick Jasper was to her in the other episode. I really liked how in the fight scene they were so mad at each other, and eventually they didn't actually get to defeat one another, as whenever they were in maximum danger, they saved each other, such as the scene where the pillar was falling down on Amethyst, much like what happened back in the kindergarten episode, where the injector was falling on Amethyst, and when Steven floated away as he's not fully able to control his powers, as he only learned those about 10 episodes ago. I think this was an amazing episode right before we get into the big new stuff of course, the next exciting episode of Bismuth. Overall, I have to give this episode a 7 out of 10. It wasn't as intense as the last episode, and it was more of a character development between Amethyst and Steven, which, like I've stated before, Amethyst getting character development is a great thing in the show, and I can't wait to see more of it in the upcoming future. Well, that's all for this review, and I hope to see you next time for my review of the 30-minute special Bismuth. It's going to be a great episode.